is Tim Cato here from All City Dallas joining you on the Fan. And a good afternoon, sir. How the heck are you?
I'm going to keep it a buck with you guys. A little bit tired.
Okay.
A little bit post-Vegas recovery mode.
Watching those Mavs games pretty intense, huh?
Yeah. It was just that, I was only at the gym, certainly nothing else.
So how much was Vegas buzzing about LeBron?
A little bit. Buzzing, I would say there is a curiosity and a fascination, even more like just to really pin it down. Clearly everybody feels there's something going on, or there was something going on, and everybody kind of wants to know what, but it's LeBron. These things are happening if they're happening, I don't want to say they are happening. Clearly there's something going on behind the scenes, but it could be something as simple as he's just going to end up back with the Lakers, as he's going to play with the player option he opted into, which was his decision. But yeah, certainly a little bit of buzz, certainly a lot of curiosity and fascination about just all that's going on with that whole situation.
It doesn't get that interesting specifically for the Mavs until buyout happens.
Yes, I would pretty confidently say that. Don't rule anything out, but yes. And my pal at DLS, Mark Stein, has reported that Dallas has no interest in making a straight trade for LeBron. So I think we're safe to say that it's kind of buyout territory only, and there is, as things stand right now, no reason for the Lakers to do that. But LeBron is the most powerful person in the NBA, and I guess I'm just never gonna like more so than Adam Silver. I genuinely believe that. So not gonna rule anything out, but no updates or traction or news imminent as far as I know.
Why are you doing your best Brian Windhorse right now there, Tim?
You want me to put the fingers up?
Yeah,
I know a lot of people are on radio. They can't
what's
see
happening in Utah?
I got the fingers up.
Yeah, I feel like I'm talking to somebody who was standing next to somebody at the Lakers at the craps table and was rolling all night and pushing chips around, and you had the scoop, and then you kind of were giving me well, let me say this. I don't want to say that yes, but maybe yes. Come on, Timmy. Come on. You know what's going to happen. You know what's going to happen here. Tell us what's going to happen.
I'll put it this way. I think that all of the public news cycle, all of the statements, all of the stuff is designed for us to buy into the smoke. So maybe I'm just falling victim to that. Maybe it is main character syndrome and not main with an E on the end, which was Cooper Flagg. We can get to that, but maybe it's a little bit of, LeBron has a very long history of, enjoying being part of the news cycle. Yeah.
I could definitely see that. I could see not wanting to leave Los Angeles, but if he wants to win championships, he's got to leave LA if he wants any shot at one or two more, right?
I think so. I think this roster is what's really weird and funny is that, I think the Lakers' best move for the future would be to trade him if they could find anybody who would give anything of value for a LeBron who is he has fewer than 150 games, 160 games left in his career. There's a lot of buzz that, his retirement is coming next summer. And that's just a very difficult spot to be in, and for the Lakers. And LeBron's still a top 10 player, I think, alive, which is preposterous to say for a 41-year-old. But I tend to agree that this Lakers roster is not quite there. But it wasn't quite there with Anthony Davis either. It's like Luka arrived, and Luka is the team's future. But they were not winning. If they hadn't traded, if the Mavericks hadn't been willing to make that trade, I assume LeBron was going to stick around with AD and say, oh yeah, we're trying to win for a championship. That team wasn't good enough either. So there is going to be a little bit of a reset in LA, and LA is the one team that just gets players for free. Like sometimes it's thanks to the generosity of the Dallas Mavericks, but more often, that is the number one free agency destination. And even as free agency has kind of gone out, it's out of style in the NBA. I'm never, ever, ever ruling out the Los Angeles Lakers signing an NBA player through free agency, something that, was probably dictated years in advance. It's certainly possible, and that is probably their best path to kind of retool and get everything right. But yeah, not the, I just don't, I would agree that that's not a contender right now. But I would also agree that, it does not help the Lakers' future to buy out LeBron James. And I'll remind everybody once again, and we all know this, LeBron chose to opt into a player option.
Mm-hmm.
That was his choice. If he wanted to be a free agent this summer, he could have been.
Tim Cato, DLLS, with us here in the GBAG Nation. Let's talk the Mavs' future. Your takeaways from Cooper Flagg in 2 games that you got to see up close and personal. And Tim, from my perspective, I think it was very healing to be able to have joy watching basketball again. I think that this is what I needed personally, to see Cooper Flagg in a Dallas Mavericks jersey, even if it was just Summer League, to now feel I can move on. I'll never be cool with the Luka trade, but this at least gives me hope.
There are millions and millions of Mavericks fans, and there are, every single person has their own relationship to the team. And certainly some looked at the Luka trade and said, it's just, they can't keep, they can't keep it up. But I would say that a majority of Mavericks fans, even the spurned ones, even the ones, who hated the trade, and that is the majority of them. But I would say even then, the majority of Mavericks fans want to root for the Mavericks. And Cooper Flagg is an avenue to feel joy again, to feel like it's not just negative news cycle after negative news cycle. Certainly, even from my place in the media, I am very, very, very grateful that there is something exciting to talk about. It's not fun. It's not enjoyable to go, on our DLLS show every single day, weeks and weeks and weeks in a row, and be scrounging for, is Brandon Williams a most improved player candidate for next season? Just being able to talk about Cooper Flagg and who he was at Summer League is, I feel a sense of relief, and I can only imagine how much Mavericks fans feel that even more. And he was good. He was really good. I thought, in his first game, obviously he struggled. The second one, may be the best performance in Vegas, or if not, it's going to be something close to that. And that's what everybody wanted to see. Drew Timme is also balling out in Summer League. So, the Nets player, and so balling out in Summer League, it's good to do it. It's certainly better to do it than not. If Cooper had another quiet game, I would come on here and tell you how good he is and how good he's going to be and why not to worry about that stuff. But it's certainly easier and better and feels, better and feels more true to who Cooper is going to be next season, that he did have this game and, that second game where he balled out and showed us why he is, probably the best collegiate freshman, the best collegiate prospect since Anthony Davis.
It seemed like the Lakers and the Spurs had a plan to really want to try and stop him. I mean, they were throwing a bunch at him. Were the Mavs, and he put up a ton of shots, were they just like, hey, please go be as aggressive as possible and put up all the shots possible because you only got 2 games here? Like, what were they trying to get him to do?
Yes, absolutely. Jason Kidd talked for, at the introductory press conference for Cooper. He talked about how he was going to give him the ball, let him play point guard. That was a choice Dallas made. But I think you nailed it. The thing that made him even, slightly more uncomfortable in a good way, because Summer League and young prospects, 18-year-olds, this is the perfect situation to go challenge them. And he took 21 shots in both games. Last season at Duke, he averaged 13. The most shots he took in a game at Duke was 22. So, if you include, if you will, the Summer League games alongside his Duke season, same number of minutes. He was actually playing fewer minutes. He played, I think, 38 minutes in the Duke game where he shot 32 times. He played 31, 32 in these two. That was the second and third most shots he took, in the past calendar year in professional, games or in competitive games. So it absolutely was a challenge. It was what Dallas wanted to see from him. And I thought, as I expected, and as the analysis of him as a prospect always led us to believe, when he was one-on-one approaching a set defense, trying to create an advantage against, a defender, a like-sized defender, that's probably was his worst performance. It was up and down. He had moments where, up against Carter Bryant, a guy who got drafted in the lottery because his, on-ball defense is just spectacular. He's going to be an amazing defender. There's moments where he dribbled it out of bounds, trying to create separation in space against Carter Bryant. And then there's a moment, a few minutes later in the game where he adjusted and adapted and got to the rim, on a left-handed drive and a left-handed finish. But I would say overall, that was, that is the part of his game that is going to continue to develop. Where he is 5 years from now, I think is going to be very different and much better than where he is in that aspect right now. What I really liked in the second game is as the first half went on and then into the second half, they've really freed Cooper up to not always be the first guy starting the attack, not always having the pressure and the responsibility to go get a step on his defender, go get a step in the paint. And it was a lot more of him driving at closeouts. It was a lot more of him, receiving the ball, after his teammates swung it around the perimeter. And that's where he's going to thrive. That's why I say main character syndrome. It's very much that he is so talented that if you put him on the floor long enough, he's just going to make plays. He's going to make awesome plays. He's going to make an impact. He's going to help you win. I just think that right now what we saw is that, he's going to come in next season and he's going to be better doing that in a secondary role, a weak side role, an off ball role. There's going to be a mix and an ability for all of that stuff to be featured in his game next season. And he's going to be awesome at it. But yeah, I think right now, he's going to impact winning right away, but he's definitely going to be better and more consistent and efficient, kind of in a secondary role.
What are your favorite traits of his other than the scoring, than the shooting? What are the other things that he does NBA ready already?
So I think you were asking kind of on the court, but I'm gonna take this off the court. I think the absolute best trait for Cooper Flagg, and a really important part of understanding who he is that he is always challenging himself. He is always rising to the competition. That, he was named the player of the year in Maine as a freshman and decided, all right, well, I'm the best player in Maine and I'm, 14. I've got to go find another challenge. So he went to Montverde. And, that is the most prestigious basketball high school academy. And his second year there, he was very good, and he reclassified it, and he went, he was a sophomore, so he reclassified as a junior to get to Duke a year early. He was the youngest player in college, just about. It also meant that he's in the NBA 1 year earlier. We all know how he was on the Team USA Select or the USA Select team last summer and played against future Hall of Famers. And those Hall of Famers said he was the standout player in this second select team, when they scrimmaged. So this is somebody who is always ascending, always challenging himself for more. And, there's a quote from his mom that he often cites, if you're the best player on the court, you're the best player in the gym, you need to find another gym. And so I think that really defines so much of who Cooper is. And it's why that he, in this entire time, he's improved and grown. When he was first considered a prospect, everybody looked at him and this is going to be a special defensive player. It wasn't until the past 2 years that, the offensive ceiling and the offensive development started just spiking. And that is what turned him into a really, really intriguing lottery pick to the de facto unquestionable number one pick in last year's draft. And that's just what stands out to me.
Do you think he'll play for USA in the 2028 Olympics?
Ooh, I have not even considered that. Maybe. I mean, it's going to be a turnover year, right? Or like it's going to be a completely new cycle. Like obviously all the people in Paris are kind of aging out. I think there's a real chance at it. Even, I think, so what, that's 4 seasons from now. I think that Cooper Flagg is going to be at worst a top 30 or 40 player by then. But he's so versatile. He can fit anywhere that even if he's not like a top 10 NBA player at that point, it probably is going to make a lot of sense to bring him up and put him on, Team USA, just because he can do everything. He can fit anywhere. And also, obviously, when I say top 40 NBA players, a lot of those, not all of those are American. So I would say, yeah, pretty decent chance.
Is any Mav having a better summer than Klay Thompson right now?
Shooters shoot. I love her music. I love her song WAP, which stands for White American Prospect. It's actually about Cooper Flagg.
Tim, I know you guys got to chat with Ryan Nembhard out there in Vegas as well. I mean, how is that conversation? How likely do you think he is to contribute this year? And did anybody else stand out to you? I mean, Kelly, I thought was pretty darn good for the team as well.
Those are the two standouts, and those are the two players who are already signed to two-way contracts for the Mavericks. They still have a third spot open. My assessment, and from what I've heard, although I'm going to be honest, I haven't been dialed in 100% to this, but my assessment is that nobody on the team right now is the clear favorite for that third spot. And of course, they can go get a third player from anywhere around the league. There are people in the front office who are tracking all of these summer league games and keeping an eye on players on every single team. And they're the potential that, they would be available for a two-way spot. That just because they're on another team's summer league roster does not mean that those people are shoo-ins to go get two-way spots, but they might be for Dallas. They might be somebody that Dallas considers. So yeah, Miles Kelly for sure. I think he was pretty consistent and good in both games. Ryan Nembhard, great first game, struggled in the second one. I think it's going to take a little bit of time for him. He's, a small point guard. And so it's not that, he's a very polished player, but if you're 6 feet, you have to be so polished. You have to be so smooth and consistent, to be able to elevate your game past, the elevation, if you will, that you're giving up to defenders. But I really liked him, and it was great catching up with him. Really, really, really cool guy, nice guy. He told us the Twitter account that there was a Twitter account kind of acting like it was him, and he's like, "Oh, I'm not on Twitter." There's also a lot of jokes about him looking like Earl Sweatshirt, and he said he had seen them, didn't agree, but liked the music. So that's all. That works for me. That works for me. As long as you're an Earl head, you're good in my books.
I love it, Tim. Have a great rest of your summer, and we look forward to catching up with you whenever there is Mavs news. Appreciate you, buddy.
Absolutely. Yeah. Definitely come on in a couple months. I should be recovered by Vegas around
Get some liquid IVs, bro.
I love it. Salute to
yes,
you.
Sir. Yes,
Tim,
sir.